So I was already thinking like, man, I'm gonna have to start applying again. I was getting ready to do a master's or something. And then I heard back and I was like, oh shit, I'm going to med school, which is crazy. And as I heard back from that first school in March, it was like a huge weight had been lifted off my shoulders. Like, yes, I'm actually going to med school.
Exactly.
That felt great.
I know this is a wonderful time. You're so excited. You just got into med school, but you're scared. You're trying to figure out, okay, like, can you do this? Can you do this? And like, honestly, I was in the exact same boat a year ago. I could even play like a little clip from my like moving vlog when I got in.
I'm excited. I'm nervous because like, man, I know I haven't worked as hard as I'm going to have to work in med school in my life, It's like, man, am I ready for that? It's like, I gotta be because I'm in it, But then it's also just like, wow, I'm excited to just learn like everything, man. Like, I know I have so much luster right now. My first month into med school was like, I'm complaining about too much on my plate when all I wanted to do was eat.
You always hear about how hard med school is, and it took you so much to get in here, and like I feel like that is the key, is that it took you so much to get in here that going from here on, like you hopped on the train and now you're going, but you are meant to be here. Just all that you have to do to even get into med school, a year long of like an application to your primaries, secondaries, interviews, all like the leadership that you had to get in, the volunteer hours, the research, the grades, you did it. Congratulations, taking the MCAT. It is amazing that you even got this far. I think the rate to get into med school, or like the acceptance rate, is like 45% of applicants get in each year. Like that is on the same level of trying to match into some of the most competitive specialties. Like, you guys are amazing. And then the average for getting into your individual school can be anywhere around 4%, which is you guys did it. Congratulations. I want you to hold on to that feeling, because that is what's going to drive you. You have it in you. You just need to put in the work. I feel like the biggest thing that I learned over the course of this year is that medicine isn't just about how like smart you are. Everyone who's even applying to med school is probably really intelligent, right? The people who get in are obviously intelligent. Everyone in your class is going to be smart. But what really makes you like stand out and just like succeed in medicine is just how much work you're willing to put in. I feel like as long as you have that drive in you to get what you want, no matter where you got in, you can do it. I want you to believe in yourself. It's all about like you versus you at the end of the day. How much work are you willing to put in? Because I feel like honestly that's what it is. Yeah. So every med school is different. What they at least their curriculum. I feel like regardless of what your curriculum looks like, there's so many study resources, and I feel like as soon as you get in, that's like super overwhelming to just learn about. There's Amboss, there's Med Bullets, there's Athoma, there's Sketchy, there's all these different things you can use, and I feel like everyone studies their own way. Whatever way you maybe studied in college may not be the way that you study when you get into med school. I feel like one thing about med school is that you have to just kind of keep going with the flow, because things can like kind of change quickly, especially like the way you may study for one block may be different from how you study for the next block. And I feel like honestly it took the first half of med school for me to feel really secure in the way that I study. And even talking to a lot of my classmates, I feel like that was the same feeling. It was just like once we started that second semester, the units just felt so much easier because we went through, we already went through a semester of this, like we know how this works, we know what we need to do to be successful. So I feel like you just need to trust yourself that, again, you got here, you can figure it out. It's really just about the work you put in. I would always say that the most important things would be having some content source that could be your lectures, but depending on the school, they might not teach you everything that's going to be on STEP. So that's when you can use some of those third-party resources to get that like supplemental like learning where that may not be taught in your class. But you need some source of like daily like content, trying to read something or watch something every day. I personally watch Boards and Beyond for like most of the beginning stuff, like anatomy, embryology. Well, anatomy, I use this guy called the Noted Anatomist on YouTube, and then all the embryology, histology. I use boards and beyond, pathoma, all like the pathology. And then for the micro and the pharmacology, I use Sketchy. Like, people swear by like those to like get through that, but I know people who just use, I know a lot of people like to use med school boot camp and they'll watch all of their videos and stuff. I haven't used them, so I don't know, but I've heard people swear by them. And then I would say you need some kind of question bank, and then you need a good way to repeat the content. And however you do that, I know some people like to whiteboard all their stuff. I love Anki, but then I also love, like, once, especially I'm at the end of a block, to know that I really know something, or like know the entire block, I'll try to go through every like disease in that block and explain how it works, the pathophys, and how you treat it and everything from like beginning to end on the day before the test. If I can do that, I know everything pretty well. But I would say regardless, just because of like the nature of the test, you can do enough practice questions where you can see the majority of way that things are going to be asked. Like, if you do enough, it'll get to the point where you get to the test and it's just, okay, you're looking for like, it's all just pattern recognition. And I feel like that's why I feel like med school is a lot of like hard work, because like however much work you need to put in to recognize those patterns, it gets a lot easier and smoother moving through these tests, because there's just like so much information that you need to know. And I feel like especially as you go deeper into it, you kind of realize that there's like kind of repeating concepts with like the science behind how some of these things work. And just because you can kind of remember that pattern, being able to connect one thing to something else helps you to also remember. So I feel like, at least that's how I study and how I've done well this semester. I don't really study all day. I feel like I like to put myself on like a schedule, because I feel like there's no reason to really pull like all-nighters in med school, I would say. Like, at least for the majority of the time. Maybe if you have like a really difficult something, but I never pulled any all-nighters. I would say I would start studying somewhere around like 8 a.m. and then I'll typically end my day of studying around 7 p.m. I don't like to study past 7 p.m. And I usually give myself like an hour break of lunch. But then there will definitely be days where I don't really study that much. Maybe I'll just do my review Anki cards that day, and that'll be the day. There's some days I took completely off. Some days I felt so good going into the test where it's like, okay, maybe I'll stop studying at 5 today, just because I knew what I knew. There's no reason to burn yourself, grind yourself into the wall so early. But I feel like you'll figure out what you need to do to be successful. That's also one thing I would say about med school, is especially like my med school. There's so many resources for students who may be struggling. There's the student support services for like academics and stuff. There's like tutoring. All of the professors are super available to talk to. A lot of professors are like super available to the point where they'll get out their phone numbers and say, hey, do you need something? You can give them a call or text and ask them about like anything that may be going on. Their office hours, they're super available. They really want you to succeed. And I love that about my school. Then lean on your classmates around you. I would say I love how like smart my classmates are too, because I love learning from them. I love studying with them, and even ways that they may know how they like remember something. If they explain it to you, it's like, oh, okay. Like sometimes I'm literally sitting at the test and I'm like, oh, I remember my friend explained this process to me, and then I can remember the answer to the question or something like that. So yeah, lean on the people around you, and everyone. I feel like it feels like everyone's in it together. Everyone wants us all to be successful. Like when my school year started, it was like 115 of us, and so see, like 115 in, 115 out. Like we're all getting through this together, and I feel like that's a supportive environment. If you have that at your med school, definitely hold on to that, especially if you may be struggling. A lot of people talk about how like much time med school takes up. And I feel like, at least at my school, I've seen, not even from myself, but you can't let like med school take away your 20s, take away your life. Life doesn't stop. You have to keep going. You have to plan the fun events. If your class is doing something to get together, you can get together with your class. You can spend time with friends and family if you are around them as well. I would say like, you make time for the things you want to make time for, and you have to prioritize yourself. You have to prioritize like social well-being. I know so many people in my class would go and travel for any small break that we had. If it was a 3-day weekend, they were somewhere else. I know some upperclassmen who are like that. They're always traveling and doing all this stuff. I'm like, okay, that's super cool. They're like, even if you're not necessarily traveling, you can carve out that time for yourself. You can really enrich yourself there. So it's like, okay, you're not just, taking care. You have to make sure to take care of your mental health is what I'm saying. Outside of med school, I feel like one thing that I've used my extra time with this year is like really getting into like the gym and stuff like that. You would think, oh, you're super busy in med school. Do you have time to like take care of yourself? I have been going to the gym pretty consistently, like at least like 5 times a week, if not like 6. I've been able to do that in med school, and I've been in the best shape of my life in med school as well. It's all about what you want to make time for. Even like spending time with my girlfriend or spending time with like friends and everything. I feel like you just make the time for the things you want to make time for. Reaching out to family. Yeah, I feel like as long as you feel like you want that time, you can make time for those things and build your life around that. Because remember, it's a work-life balance. Especially you're just starting, it's gonna get more difficult. Like that's always one thing where it's like there's like a balance between like in your head, at least in my head, anytime like I'm in like the heat of like studying for those, I could always have the idea that I could be studying right now. There's always more work to do. There's always more studying you could theoretically do. You could stare into the book all day because there's just so much you need to know. But the work is always going to be there. You have other responsibilities. You have to like clean your house, be a person. I feel like the balance between being like a medical student and being a person is like an ever-flowing balance where it's like, okay, you have to remember to like take care of yourself because the work is always going to be there. As long as you're doing enough work, chugging away at it every day, and do something every day, you can step away from the work because as long as you're always doing something, you're making progress, and that is enough. I would say one thing about like extracurriculars in med school, a lot of people will talk about, a lot of students will not get into any extracurriculars or anything until their second semester. But I would suggest if there's like one thing that you're really interested in and at very entry level to a e-board position is if you're, like, let's say you're interested in, I don't know, like anesthesiology. You could be the M1 liaison for the anesthesiology interest group. And I feel like an M1 liaison role is a very introductory role to like executive leadership. You get to spread information about whatever your club is to your class, and then also gives you a position on the e-board, so it allows you to talk to other students that you may be interested in the same things. And it doesn't even necessarily need to be a specialty interest group, but I was the M1 liaison for the Student National Medical Association. And I feel like just being a part of that organization allowed me to be a part of more things that they do, like all the events that they host, the volunteering events, speaking to pre-meds, different campuses around here. That's something I'm interested in. I joined the club so I could do more of that. And then I was even able to go to AMEC because I was a part of the e-board. And I was able to network there and stuff like that. So I was just like, yes, it can be a lot to like try to juggle a lot of different things, but I feel like a M1 liaison position, if they have those, the clubs that you're interested in, I feel like those are very good entry-level e-board positions that are good for M1s. And then into your like second semester, you can, I feel like it's not, in med school, I feel like it's easy to kind of like join an interest group or be more involved at any point. Like in the specialty interest group I'm in, I wasn't really that involved in it really until the second semester. And it wasn't like I felt like, oh, I missed out on like any huge opportunities or anything. And it was just when I felt more comfortable to be more involved, because in the first semester, like I said, that's when you're taking the training wheels off, you're getting your sea legs under you. You're like just trying to handle what it's like to be at med school. So after that, you can start to explore more things outside of med school. I would definitely say like those interest groups and stuff, other clubs, like volunteer organizations in your school. But then there's also like getting into like research. You can ask different professors or doctors at your school, hey, what research are you interested in? I've had multiple of my classmates already start presenting at the different conferences that your med school may have. So that's like a super easy way to get involved in research. And then a big thing about research, I guess, is keep in mind what specialties you might be interested in, because your first summer of med school is also like your last summer of med school. So if you have any particular like specialty interest, you can use that summer to explore that a little more. A lot of people end up doing research in their specialty of interest. Some schools may even require you to do research that summer. So it's also a good opportunity to start to build your like resume a little bit, and those applications may start opening up anywhere from early October. Like interventions, I know that one's a specialty interest one that I think it was maybe due in October actually, maybe due like beginning of November. And then I know some that were due still until like maybe March, or like February. I would suggest like, okay, as you're just hearing about things, maybe your school even has partnerships with other institutions. I'll say always keep your ear out, and then I say you have to be resourceful. If you're interested in something, like ask for more resources from your school, because your school has connections to these different things, but you have to ask, and closed mouths don't get fed, I would say for sure. Okay, I would say med school is really what you make of it. I have enjoyed my time so far. I've talked to multiple upperclassmen who were about to graduate, and they're like, yes, they enjoyed Meharry, that it was the best 4 years of their life. I'm excited for the next 3. I feel like time is moving by so quickly, and it's going to move by super quickly for you all. I feel like for me, it was like time was moving super fast and super slow at the same time. Like I can't believe it's already been a year, but the amount of information that I learned, it had to have been over a year. I feel like one thing that like really like drove me and that really excites me now is that like in the beginning I knew absolutely nothing about like all of like the med school stuff, like all of the body systems, and to now be at the end of this first year and the jump from where I didn't know to what I know now is like enormous. I think it's like, I don't know, 20,000 like Anki cards or something like that. And that's 20,000 individual facts that I've like learned this year. And like that's, maybe I don't remember all of it right now, but by the time I step, I'm definitely gonna know it. And it's just like, the thought of like knowing that much is like super exciting to me. And stuff like that excitement of like learning is really drives me in med school. I would say that, especially when I'm at the end of the unit, where I get to kind of like show off what I know. That's how I feel like when I'm taking tests or doing like practice questions. Like, okay, yes, I know that. Yes, I know that. The thought of knowing more is what excites me and continues to drive me to do well in like every unit. So I feel like if you can like really grasp onto that like love of like learning, I feel like that would also make med school feel like less work and just like fun that you balance with other fun and life stuff. And yeah, but you got it, guys. I believe in you all. I did, so I believe you can do it too. It's gonna be scary, but you got it. Hi, my name is Jaden. This is What Healers With You. Thank you for coming. Make sure to like, comment, subscribe. Put any questions down below that you may have. Feel free to reach out. Have a good one.